the pleasant month of May has finally arrived. The spring chill is gone, giving way to warmer days. Many women had switched from pants and jeans to shorter skirts, attracting appreciative glances from the men. On this day, Adanna wore a dress that came down to just above her knees, allowing her legs to bask in the bright sunshine. She boarded the crowded bus, sitting at the open window where a breeze played with her hair. This was how her weekday mornings began, and weekends were something of an exception. The ride from the city to her workplace was usually 30 minutes. The bus was full of passengers, as usual, but Adanna managed to get a seat in the corner, separated from the crowd by a railing. Turning her back to the others, she closed her eyes, enjoying the warmth of the spring sun on her face. In her 25th year, Adanna had been married for 6 years. Her romantic journey, reminiscent of many youthful love stories, was characterized by brightness, passion, and intensity. After only a year of dating, she and Chike decided to bond in marriage. However, as with many relationships, the fervor they once shared faded over time. The act of intimacy turned from a desire to an obligation, though their bond grew deeper and more tender. Nevertheless, both Adanna and Chike realized the lack of passion in their union as the monotony of daily life gradually encompassed them. Adanna was gradually gaining weight, which was a source of frustration for her. She used to maintain a slender physique, but the extra weight had given her curves, which some felt enhanced her attractiveness. Her dark hair, deep dark brown eyes, and graceful figure had always been a source of pride for her. However, as she rode the bus that morning, her thoughts drifted to a distant reality. A strange sensation swept over her. At first, she didn't realize where it had come from. Hard male fingers were gripping the back of her head. She wanted to turn around, but the bus was so crowded that movement was impossible. When she tried to look back, the man's hand moved to her neck, applying light pressure. Adanna tried to free herself, but it was no use. The stranger's grip grew more demanding, and her heart raced with fear and confusion. She was overwhelmed by this event, completely unprepared for it. Recognizing her lack of control over the circumstances, she decided to take things as they came. After all, the man seemed fully aware of his actions. Adanna looked around anxiously, fearing that someone might notice her, but no one seemed to be paying any attention to her. She thought of Chick, but he had never treated her that way. In fact, he was the only man she had ever dealt with in the bedroom. The man on the bus moved in some special way. His touch was unfamiliar, and his scent was unlike anything she'd encountered before. Every aspect of this encounter was unlike anything she'd experienced before. Her dress lifted slightly as the stranger's fingers continued to explore her body. Adanna grasped the railing with trembling hands, leaning forward slightly, hoping he would finish his occupation quickly. Despite herself, she found herself enjoying it more and more with each passing second. The warmth from the man's touch spread through her body. 5 minutes later, the bus arrived at its destination. People began to get off, but Adanna remained in her seat, not knowing if she wanted to meet the gaze of the man who had touched her. She was one of the last passengers to get off the bus. Her thoughts whirled through the day, and she couldn't concentrate on her work. She felt guilty, realizing what had happened was wrong, but strangely, her mood was fine. "What's wrong with you, Adanna?" "You're all glowing today," one of her friends teased. "Oh, nothing," Adanna replied, trying to wave it off. "It's just a warm day, and work isn't too strenuous." Her friend laughed. Yeah, sure it is. I bet you were frisky with your husband this morning. Shut up. Adanna blushed, embarrassed. That evening, after returning home and finishing cooking dinner, Adanna couldn't stop thinking about the incident on the bus. Putting on the finishing touches, she decided to greet her husband in a special way. She wore sexy lingerie, stockings, and a revealing robe. "Hi, how was work?" asked Chike, entering the room. "Great," Adanna murmured quietly. "Is dinner ready?" "Not only that," she whispered. Chike paused and turned to her. The dim light from the kitchen highlighted Adanna's figure beneath her robe. His eyes widened as he walked over to her and slowly removed her clothes. It had been a long time since he had seen his wife so desirable, and even longer since they had had such intimacy. After they were done, Adanna went to shower while Chike ate dinner. Twice in one day, it had been a long time since that had happened. The encounter on the bus had somehow awakened a desire in her that she hadn't felt in a long time. The next morning, Chike left for work, leaving her alone again. Adanna reflected on her previous encounter with the stranger on the bus, certain that this encounter would not be the last. She had chosen her outfit carefully, eager to make a subtle impression on him, despite the guilt lurking within her. She wore stockings, a skirt, and blouse. As she entered the bus, she felt a familiar hand on her thigh. A slight shiver ran through her body as his hand moved upward. This time, she decided to fully embrace the experience with this stranger that had changed her life in so many ways.